People who have signed NDAs that have now expired, or for whatever reason are no longer valid. What couldn't you tell us but now can? House hunters guest checking in. I never made the show, because I didn't close on the house. 1. I had to have a house under contract before going on the show. 2. They would select the other houses we were interested in. 3. I was assigned another SO who was more interesting than my actual SO. I was a model for a few big name / well-known makeup companies. I did several print ads for magazines and a few television commercials. The makeup artists do use the product advertised, but minimally. Like that mascara they're touting? It's over really good fake eyelashes, and they also used another brand of mascara, along with the one they're trying to sell you. Also, the clothes in the ads you see are pinned to high heaven on the model. They fit nothing like they look. It's not you. It's not your body. It's fake advertising. Most of us models look just like you wearing that crap without all the pins and tucks and double-sided tape. Did some work on the trading floor at Goldman Sachs. I had access to all trading accounts and transactions. Came across some shady looking accounts which did not meet policy. It did not use clearly identifiable name, and I could not find records of creation or testing for it, etc. I asked my supervisor if I should look into this. He turned to me and said, "We don't ask about those accounts, just ignore them. Orders from the top." Trading account creation is a long and detailed process that requires formal approval from multiple lines of management. These accounts circumvented all that and were basically anonymous with no trace. They were also trading high volume, and I was told to accept and ignore them. A friend of mine got a job at a prominent local distillery that makes an extremely popular flavored whiskey. They literally buy whiskey from a third-party distillery and dump any flavoring syrup into it. One of my friend's brothers was on the MTV show Room Raiders. Everything in the show is staged. All of the items that they would find were planted. At the end of the show, the prize was not a date with the girl that he picked. He just got her phone number. Apple 100% replaced the iPhone 4 users because of her antenna. We were instructed to dodge, deflect, and deny this was the issue. Cell phone providers were. The phone was a fluke. It didn't matter. Don't admit fault. But if they were there for reception, vs water damage, buttons or battery life, you had to make sure you were swapping them with the newer batch iPhone 4 swaps, rather than the typical batch swaps. It was a recall without being a recall, but only if you had reception issues. Amazon made me sign one when I worked with a company that painted their airplanes before the public knew they had them. I did the FAA paperwork. I was literally only one of like 7 people to see their airplane fully purple with their logo on it. I was actually taken off of the project for a day because they thought I lied about not having a Facebook. They meant business. I signed an NDA once when I was an extra on Mortal Engines. If you watch the movie, you'll learn more than I did on set. Posted this before, if it sounds familiar. Not me, but a guy I know was on Cash Cab. A lot of it was faked. He was told he would be on a travel food show and would get picked up by a fake taxi at a certain location at a certain time. There were camera crews all over outside the taxi, and there's no way on earth you might mistake it for a real cab. I worked for a native casino. The golf courses lost a ton of money for us, as did the advertising for the courses. Food we generally broke even on because of all the carbs. If a crime was committed by a dealer, they would watch the dealer for 3 months to see if there were accomplices. They used facial recognition and would pair match you, so if the same person sat with the same dealer over and over, they would know. This way they could look for accomplices. Then when they busted you, they would sit you down and make you watch a video of you breaking the law. They did this because they wanted you to plead guilty as opposed to an expensive trial. Previous pharmacy chain I worked for, always at risk of robbery for opiates, and we are always taught to give the robber what they want with no questions asked. Have heard of times that pharmacists instead gave bottles of oxy with Tylenol in it instead and other things that were reckless and dangerous due to possible retaliation when and if they figure out they have been duped. New policy and NDA comes out where specific opiates were placed in safe with GPS tracker and charger, so when it is removed from radius of origin, It issues remote notification to third party that tracks location and works with local LEO to find the wanted party. We used an extract to flavor our peanut butter porter. It feels good to get that off my chest. I had to sign an NDA because I was part of a test screening for The Dark Tower with Idris Elba. Tried to tell them it. They didn't want to listen. I signed an NDA to waitress at a local family-owned restaurant. The owner was nuts, definitely had a severe personality disorder, and was worried about his recipes getting leaked. The restaurant is dead now, and his secret recipes consisted almost solely of frozen packaged food. Edit. Guys, stop trying to guess what restaurant it is. You never will. There are millions of family-owned places with crazy bosses that go under. You don't know the place, and I'm not gonna tell you. Also, Mr. Krabs pays his employees enough to own houses and pets. I wish I worked for him. Signed an NDA when I worked as a fit model for Katy Perry's shoe line. Basically, a fit model is used for their good proportions to test out the fit of garments. I'm a solid size 7.5, so hooray for being average. I was hired on 2 occasions and got to hang out and give her my opinion on the fit, feeling, and comfort of different shoes. Didn't think she'd actually be there, but both times she was present and totally running the show. Super nice woman in person, and remembered me when we met again. Also, she apologized for making me wait so long, which I thought was nice. It was a late night meeting as she'd just wrapped shooting a music video. Her dog is really cute too, and I got to save it when it got stuck behind a wall panel. Recycling company would throw away a lot of stuff. They collected the money from government subsidies while leaving the employees to a salary in a hazardous workplace. R/OSHA would have freaked out. That included having dirty syringes. Thank God I didn't get stabbed by one, where people would sort the materials. It was awful. D&D 5e had a kick online character builder that made character creation a breeze. It listed all of the possible skills it set up a race and class that was intuitive and made theory crafting for characters easy. Personal conjecture, they canned it because it took away from the pen and paper aspect of the game, and they were afraid with an online tool it'd take away from book sales. Worked for a short time as a QA tester at EA and wasn't allowed to talk about the game I was testing, the console port for The Sims 4. There wasn't really much to talk about, but since the first few versions were basically just running the PC version on a console, there were a lot of bugs with it. One of the worst was a lighting bug we started referring to as disco mode, since it caused a bunch of multicolored squares to show up on everything at night or in dark areas. In 1990, I signed an NDA at Chili's when they showed me how to make their new Awesome Blossom. No other restaurant in town had anything like it, and it was hugely popular at the time. Worked at a matchmaking company. It's all bull. It's just throwing darts at a wall until something sticks. There's no science or magic to it all. Edit. I didn't work for an internet matching company, so they may have a different process. What we did was get a paid client and set him up on dates. The dates we found were from a pool of women and we would just keep picking one after another. I quit because I felt like the women were just being used, and I became uncomfortable profiting off of people's hopes. They very much play up on finding you true love, and it's a process, blah blah. They'll very much play up the fairy tale romance. It did change me. I don't really date anymore, because I don't trust the true intentions of people anymore. I became very jaded to dating after all of that. Kraft Macaroni and Cheese are coming out with a more modern and upscale version to expand their market from lower income folks to higher income folks. It is almost entirely the same product as the 69-cent blue box, but will have a lighter, less orangey color. They will be sold as shells and not macaroni. The box will be shaped differently, and it will go for $2.50 or more. Stated to be released by 1995. A certain global conferencing company still saves passwords for their web products in plain text. Any, and I mean any, employee that works there can see the password. My password there was not my pass, you idiot, because I know other people would see it eventually, and they'd even comment/laugh about it. Also, we once discovered that our main conferencing software was letting you sign in regardless of the password you entered. meaning you could sign in with any email address. Once we brought it up, we first were immediately stonewalled and told not to say anything about it in written format. TLDR, they had the dev team and legal on a conference call, and they decided it was best to just keep it quiet until they fixed it later that day. No client was to be notified of the issue, and the ones that knew of it were basically given a runaround until they gave up. They also added call spoofing to the software. They called it something fancier, but it was call spoofing. You could make a call and make it appear from any number you wanted. My team raised this concern many times, but were countered with no one will actually use it for that. Okay, that place was a gold mine of security risks. There is going to be a Capri Sun sports flavor in roughly 2003. I was a taste tester for Kraft Foods when I was 10. We didn't sign an NDA, but it was supposed to be a secret. Sony got hacked over that North Korea movie because of a 5-year-old account they didn't delete or monitor from an ex-employee. Mini Cooper/BMW replaced our car because the high-pressure fuel pump failed 6 times within 6 months. However, the recorded reason for the replacement of the car was because of stained interior from dirty mechanic hands, so it wasn't replaced via the lemon law. A government, in 1972, identified a terrorist by his wife's breasts from satellite images. My boss got drunk at a conference and tried to get in my hotel bed. She forced me to share a room with her and declared our room pants free after 9 p.m. She got drunk at a baseball game and tried to switch shirts with me in front of co-workers and clients. And when I quit because of it, she left me a message saying, "You're just a 22-year-old little," and it wasn't sexual harassment because I'm a woman. Like she forgot that lesbians existed and that she was one, not like a closeted one, a full-on had a wife lesbian. I was fine just leaving the company, but the phone called me off. I was 22, but apparently not as much of a little. They settled within 2 months for a full year's salary and lawyer fees. ETA, sorry if it wasn't clear, I'm a woman, which is why somehow my boss thought her actions didn't count. I was a translator, contractor, for the US military. I also translated Marvel comic books. Marvel had tighter security. Google doesn't hire direct support employees, they open small projects in the US, hire up to 250 contract employees of varying support positions for the project. Once they get the stats needed to run everything efficiently, they have mass layoffs and outsource their jobs to a country, Philippines/India, that's willing to accept much less than their US counterpart. At the same time, Google rakes in a huge tax cut because they are creating jobs in the local communities. Edit, yes, this includes YouTube and YouTube content review. I was actually an actor in that commercial. That said, I wasn't. When I was a kid, I visited the dentist for a cavity. While there, the dentist slipped while drilling my tooth and drilled a hole under my tongue. My mom saw me tense up, and my dentist said, "Oh, nicked her there a bit, so you might see a little blood." I got home, and after an hour, my entire neck was swollen up like a frog, and my voice was squeaky because of the air pressure. A pocket of air was pressing against my heart. Dirty air, at that, because of the bacteria in my mouth. I was admitted to the hospital as a code 4, with a code 5 being dead. When my mom tried to sue the dentist for damages, he claimed I was kicking and screaming, and out of control during the act, even getting his secretary to vouch for him and testify. Total BS. I liked the dentist, and I was a people pleaser. Also, laughing gas. My mom's lawyer was super pessimistic and told her just to settle and sign an NDA because she had a small chance of winning. So my mom settled, being naive and scared to take on an office full of liars. She could never disclose who the dentist was, and we've heard other horror stories throughout the years about this dentist effing up other people's apostrophe mouths. Because every lawyer we've talked to after the fact says we had a very strong case and it's likely we would have won. Like really won.